Sup, ladies and gentlemen, Acolonn here, and as always, joined by Rurikhan. Only this time, the Frozen Zodium Throne is alive for episode 24. You can catch us live everywhere and anywhere you find your podcasts. Rurikhan actually has a list of everywhere you can find us live. Maybe he'll say it now.
That's a nice throw in. Luckily, I still have the website open. Our podcast is available on YouTube. I wish I had like that music, and I would go. The website is available on YouTube, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, and I think even in other places. But also now live on Twitch whenever the South African government permits us to do so.
Yes. A nice little shout out there for my fucking government. I really appreciate that. My power's going out again in a few hours, so I mean,
I would not be able to work like that. I don't know how you live your life. I would just bro, it's hard enough to be a content creator, having to deal with all of that power stuff. I can't even begin to imagine.
You sort of learn how to live your life in segments or in installments. So this morning I went live at 8 o'clock. And I edited my videos live, because if I edited my videos offline, I would not be able to stream. So I sort of had to do both. And then my power went off, and I just sort of sat there reading. And then the power came back on, so I quickly did the Q&A. Now I'm doing this, and then my power goes off, and then I sit there reading. And then my power comes on, but then I have to go sleep.
Have my tips helped you at all with the editing? Have they made it a little bit smoother or no? Or do you just ignore every... Okay, good.
No. It's made a hell of a difference.
See,
that
guys?
X to cut and shift delete to fucking just bring them back together. Oh my god, dude.
I taught Acolonn the wonders of ripple delete in Premiere and actually just having a proper keybind to cut videos. It made a hell of a difference.
The way I used to do it in the beginning was click the little razor thing, click where I want to delete it, delete that, and then pull it to make it one again. It took so fucking long. Now it's man. I wouldn't even be able to do it without X. I would just be like, what the hell am I doing? So no, definitely a huge fan of the new methods.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that helps you out. Anyway, so I guess we'll get started. I have a couple of topics here, and the first one that I want to talk to you about is the World of Warcraft Dragonflight the Third Cinematic. Now, I understand that we're going to be a little bit late on this one because this actually came out like last week, and we were supposed to talk about it last weweek, but we were sabotaged.
They won't know. They play WoW. Any news is good news. We just talk about that.
Yeah. So the third cinematic came out, and I ended up not even posting my reaction to this one because I ended up being thoroughly disappointed with this one. Like, whereas the other ones, I was kind of like getting into it because it seemed to me with the other ones that they were bringing the players in and telling you a little bit about the lore of Azeroth, even though it was being explained to Emberthal. They were talking about lore of Azeroth and events that took place in Azeroth, right? And I felt like with this one, it was more just like, nah, man, it's all about Neltharion and the Dracthyr and more Dracthyr and Dracthyr. And I was like, bro, listen, I'm not going to play a Dracthyr when Dragonflight comes out. Yeah. I'm not interested. I don't care about this race. And it seems like once you put all the three together, because there's no more, right? There's no more cinematics that we're getting.
No. Yeah, we've seen all the cinematics there's now,
Yeah. So it's like, we're not getting any more, and the whole thing is basically just about an introduction to Dracthyr. It's almost like Blizzard saying, play the Dracthyr. It's all about the Dracthyr. Dracthyr this, all you can eat Dracthyr. And I was just like, bro, what about the other races? Can we get something about, what are we going to be doing? Like, what's the deal? It's just, that's how I felt about the cinematic by the end of it.
So I will say that I did not feel the same way that you did. Like, absolutely not. I loved the third one, but I can see what you're saying from a sort of like a new player experience perspective. So if you're a new player and you're not playing a Dracthyr, you're very much in the camp of, well, how does this pertain to me? But from an old player's perspective, seeing that side of Deathwing, like finally seeing the moment that Deathwing's descent into madness begin was super cool. And I really love that. So I was very much a fan of the Legacies Chapter 3, specifically in terms of the lore tidbits that was sort of very much hidden and no one knew about. Now, to your sort of, what about all the other races on Azeroth? I do think we will get a lot of that, especially for dwarfs and, the earthen races and a lot of the construct races. I think we're going to see a shit ton of that. So I think there's going to be more animatics as Dragonflight rolls out. So probably in like 10.1, they'll do even more animatics with some of the other races and things that we learned there. But yeah, as a lore nut, I thought Legacies Chapter 3 was probably the best of the three.
Okay, so what was like the most important piece of lore that you got out of that cinematic? Because I get it that like Neltharion submits himself to the old gods due to the fact that like, the stuff Razageth and the Primalists, this is all overwhelming. I can't defeat them, so I'm just going to like accept the old gods into me, gain all this power, go crazy, kill everyone.
Okay, so I think the first thing that stood out more than anything is power level. So Neltharion, even with an army of Dracthyr and Neltharion, who is considered to be one of the most powerful of the aspects, because he literally has the entire power of Azeroth at his disposal, when he saw Razageth and he had lost that artifact, he knew he would not stand against her. So this gives us immediate power level scales here. Razageth and the primal incarnates are way more powerful than the aspects. In a 1v1 fight, they could not survive. So that's the first sort of, I think, interesting lore tidbit. The other one is literally that artifact. So that artifact blew me away because everyone in my chat and everywhere, people were sort of going, oh my God, it's Tyr's hand. It's Tyr's hand. I want to ask you, what do you think that artifact was before I tell you what it was?
I don't know. I just thought it was some random Titan artifact that contained the power to control the creatures. It's almost like, in a way, it feels like the Titans' versions of the magic of domination that we've seen in the Shadowlands or whatever.
Yeah, it is effectively that. But everyone kept saying it's Tyr's hand. No one seems to remember what actually happened in the fight between Tyr, the Proto-Drakes, would eventually become the Aspects, and Galakrond.
They ripped out his hand, right? And it's actually still in some place in Azeroth. You can see it's like a giant hand, like a statue type thing almost. Or am I wrong?
Yeah, but I think the giant hand that you're talking about is the one that the Thrall used to kill Garrosh, and that you can see in Alternate to Draenor. You can see where Thrall killed Garrosh. I'm not sure if there's another hand. Maybe there is. I don't really know. That would be interesting. Fuck. If there is something like that, please let us know. I would like to go there and go see what the fuck that's about. But no, so while Tyr was fighting Galakrond, he had his sword with him, and then he had this mysterious artifact. That's literally all it says. It's a mysterious artifact. And in the fight with Galakrond, he loses the artifact. And as he reaches to get the artifact back, that's where Galakrond grabs his arm and ultimately rips off his arm. And that artifact is considered to be lost. They never got that artifact back. And then suddenly we see Neltharion with an artifact. And if you listen closely to that cinematic, Nosdormu, his voice sounds as if he recognizes the artifact. He recognizes what Deathwing has. And that's the only thing that it could be. Because he saw that Tyr had that artifact. Now, here's where the question comes in. Deathwing or Neltharion at that point used this to control the Dracthyr. Was that then used by Tyr to control the Proto-Drakes? What if the Proto-Drakes did not, by their own volition, fought Galakrond? What if they didn't want to fight Galakrond, but they were mind-controlled into fighting Galakrond? Because before that, by Tyr and the other Titan Keepers. Because if you listen to Alexstrasza in the cinematic where Rathian asks her, why did you not kill her? Alexstrasza loved Razageth. They were like clutch mates. They were very close. She didn't want to kill them. So this suggests that there was a time where the primal incarnates and the aspects were much closer than what they are today. And my question sort of at this point would be, the primal incarnates followed Galakrond. Galakrond was a problem before the proto-drakes that would become the aspects joined tier. What if the proto-drakes that joined tier also followed Galakrond? But due to the mind control, they were forced to fight Galakrond. So basically using Galakrond's own army against Galakrond to kill him. I mean, this changes everything we thought we knew about the early lore of dragons.
Very much so. But you're still saying it's the same artifact that Tyr had, not Tyr's hand, but the same artifact that he used in order to get the proto-drakes to fight Galakrond.
Yes, exactly. I believe that it's exactly the same artifact.
It definitely continues to paint the Titans in a much more negative image, which has kind of like been a theme, I feel like, throughout many of the latest of the last expansions of World of Warcraft. Whereas in the beginning, I think we always looked at the Titans like, oh, they're the makers, they're the ones who made all of this, and then they're like, they're flawed, they have problems. Like, look at Odin, who is apparently a complete asshole, and all of these other things. Yeah.
Well, suddenly, so they were the ones who made everything. But then suddenly making and ordering becomes the same thing. Like, they didn't make it, they ordered it. So it's effectively like saying that, no, we made the onion. Well, technically we made onion rings, but that's kind of the same thing. Well, it's not really kind of the same thing. The onion was made by someone, and then you fucking chopped it up and made onion rings. That's not the same thing. Just because you brought order to it doesn't mean you made it. Like, something else made this. So the Titan story has sort of been like going back and back and back. Like, it's been pulled back quite considerably. I just wish Blizzard would make it a lot more obvious that the Titans are evil, because I have so many fucks in my comment section that every time I speak about the Titans being evil, they're like, oh, well, actually, fuck you, bro. The Titans are good and all the other forces are evil. I say, oh, for the love.
It's like we need like a constant in our lives is what these people are saying. It's like, no. There are some things that need to be constant. The Titans need to be good. The Titans are good. Surely it's like the same concept with how the Paladins use the light, and everybody's like, the light will save us. The light is good. Yeah. And then the light is trying to like enslave Illidan, and it's like, wait a minute, that's not how that works now, is it? Although it was nice to see Illidan put the little light bulb out. That was kind of an interesting cinematic.
Yeah, I did actually like that cinematic. Even with that cinematic, by the way, the people who like the light have literally just shifted their sort of story. So they've gone from the light is good, the Naru is good, the Naru is good. And then they see a Naru basically mind-fucking Illidan and going, no, never mind, I will rape you with the light. You will do as I say. And Illidan's like, no, I am my scars. Rah, fucking I-beam to the face, and Zira takes one to the knee, an arrow to the knee, and she's dead. And then people go, no, but the Naru are just servants of the light. And of course, they can be bad, but the light is still good. It's like, bitch, holy shit.
Yes.
Like, how much evidence do you need that the light is bad?
It's not even just the light being bad. It's just like there's no such thing as black and white. Void is evil, light is good. It's more so there's gray scales to everything. There's scales of gray, and it's like there's going to be characters that maybe have better intentions and characters that have worse intentions, and it's whatever. But fundamentally the third cinematic didn't really excite me, but I can see that as you are super pumped about the lore, it was much more exciting for you. It's just like I felt like these cinematics should have done a better job at bringing in returning players to Dragonflight, and I feel like they don't do a good job of that.
Yeah.
Would you agree with me, or would you disagree with that?
On that, I would actually agree with you. It feels very much as if Dragonflight was written for brand new players. So there's a moment, you've not played, have you played the pre-patch?
Yes.
Okay, so in the pre-patch, there's that moment where you meet the bitch from the Expedition League. You haven't played the Horde side, of course. You're playing the inferior side.
And let me tell you, in our side, it is most definitely inferior. You want to know what they called our person that's gonna go to the Dragonflight?
No, what are they called?
She's called Toddy Whiskers.
Toddy Whiskers.
Toddy Whiskers.
Is that a sexual thing that I'm just not getting, or is that
No.
just a random two words
It's just
together?
It's just a female dwarf called Toddy Whiskers, and I'm just like, the absolute disrespect for the dwarven race that you would call this person Toddy Whiskers. I can't even, dude. I can't
It's not even a
even.
cool dwarven name.
No,
Like,
it's Toddy Whiskers.
Magni. You could have called like Magni. These are strong names. Bronzebeard.
Yeah,
Toddy Whiskers.
Toddy Whiskers.
All right. Hey, fuck. Okay, so I can't pronounce the name of the bitch that's taking us to the Dragonflights. Like, that name is just impossible to pronounce. But, so Khadgar shows up, and she goes,
Yeah.
"Oh, attack! Guards, arrest this handsome wizard." And I'm sitting there going, what? Like, what? Okay, so first and foremost, how is the Explorers, like, League not aware of who the fuck Khadgar is? How's that just the thing? Khadgar, arguably one of the most powerful mages and one of the most recognizable faces in Azeroth, and this bitch is going, arrest this handsome wizard.
Yeah.
And if it's a joke, weak fucking joke, bro. But that's not even the weakest joke. The weakest joke that we had on the Horde side was when the Dracthyr tells us, because we say, oh, it's a long journey ahead of us, and, you know, we'll take you to the Dragon Isles, and maybe we'll figure some shit out. And she's like, yeah, and along the way, we can work on your combat prowess, despite your obvious lack of wings. And then Ebonhorn goes, I see we have a lot to work through. And I'm going,
They didn't say that to me.
where's the joke?
I think, listen,
Like, this
I
is
think
clearly
that
meant to be a funny.
it's interesting because I don't remember them saying anything like that to me, and I think it might actually be linked to your item level. Like, what's your item level right now? They're like, oh, this guy's weak. His item level's low.
No, but she wasn't saying it to me. It's like that classic World of Warcraft thing. She was saying it to Bane. She was saying it to Bane, arguably like a fucking powerful character. He's not powerful enough because he doesn't have wings. Like, you know, just taking a stab at the cow.
She must have been. That must have been a joke to, like, I hear you've been spending a lot of time sitting down in the afterlife, so I can tell that your warrior prowess isn't really there. Bane Bloodhoof, son of Cairn Bloodhoof, one of the most disrespected characters during the Shadowlands expansion, dude.
True.
Because, like, listen, Cairn Bloodhoof, I had deep respect for both Cairn and Bane, because I heavily respect those two characters, because for starters, they're not orcs.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, but it's like, then you see what happens to him on, like, the Shadowlands, where it's like, gets tossed off a cliff and spends the rest of the thing just sitting down. It's like, all right, you know?
Taking a breath.
Yeah.
He's resting. He's preparing for the Dragon Isles, so he can do nothing there. It's a long journey, bro. But no, I mean, so yeah, it's been sort of, I can see what you say there. It does feel like they really made this for new players. And
It's
old
not just
players are just sort of caught in this weird notion of what? Because for a new player, she goes, oh my god, attack, guards, arrest this handsome wizard.
Oh yeah, because Khadgar,
You know?
yeah.
And it's Khadgar, and then you have Ebonhorn actually sort of saying a little thing about, oh no, it's just Khadgar, he's cool, you know, he's like very powerful and shit. For a new player, that's like a nice little bit of lore, like world building. But it's almost, I feel like it's almost criminal that you don't have two voice lines there. One for players that have done this before, and another for players that is doing this for the very first time.
I agree.
Because for me, as a player that has played this game for a really long time, I'm looking at this Explorers League fucking chick, and I'm going, I don't think you should lead this.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't know who Khadgar is, I should lead this. Let me take the fucking lead. I'll get us there safely.
It's the same thing on the Alliance side, though. Toddy Whiskers like panics, and she goes like, guards, arrest this man, as he comes out like lobbing fireballs into the portal that he came out of and stuff like that. And it's like, what the hell, dude? Like, that's wild. How would you not know who Khadgar is? It is pretty friggin' insane.
And these are the historical society expedition people. They know the history of Azeroth, you know? That's what they study. And then it's like an historian going and saying, who's that? Like, you guys keep talking about that H guy, you know, that guy from Germany. I don't know who that is. would you take that guy seriously as an historian? You'd be like, bro, I don't think you know how to do your job. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know, it's sort of similar to that. You have this character that is very noticeable, and no, we don't know who that is.
And it's
what?
There's a couple more things about it, because like we were talking about, you were saying how the cinematics are good for like a new player, and I'm like, it's not even that great for new players. I feel like, due to the fact that it's great for new players that want to play Dracthyr.
Not necessarily just not just Dracthyr, because
but
it's
like
the first two.
But like, look for instance at the BFA cinematics, right? Because BFA was actually one of the first expansions that I became really interested in, also and majorly because of the Warbringer cinematics. Because I was like, oh, this is amazing. Like, here's Sylvanas, here's Jaina, all of these characters that I know, and they kind of like represent several, races from World of Warcraft and several different things in World of Warcraft. And I was like, okay, so this is interesting. This is something that I'm into. And now we just get 3 cinematics entirely about dragons and Dracthyr and all of this, and there's nothing else for any other race, any other class, nothing.
Yeah. I would say the first 2 episodes do a great job,
yes,
I think,
they do.
Of at least explaining the Dragonflights, you know, explaining what the Dragonflights are, how they came to be. And I think that's enough, because the third one, in my opinion, sort of explains how the dragon aspects ultimately came to a fall. So for any player that is starting anew, even if it's not a player that's playing a Dracthyr, that player at least understands the fundamental story of the Dragon Isles, which I think is a hell of an increase over, take for example, Battle for Azeroth. In Battle for Azeroth, you're a brand new player just starting out. You arrive on the shores of Zuldazar or of Belarus. Is it Borealis?
Borealis, yes.
Yeah, Borealis. And in Borealis, you're met by Anduin and Jaina. And Jaina is the one that actually gets you out of prison. And you're going, who are you? You know, and she's like, come, champion. And you're like, champion?
Oh, you mean as a new player? Yes, as a new player, it's very weird if you're getting greeted by Jaina, yeah.
Yeah, and Jaina calls you champion, and she speaks to you as if she knows you, and you're a new player, and you're sort of going, what? Like, I don't even know why I'm in jail. Like, I didn't do nothing. Here I am, and you're speaking to me as if we know each other. Get away from me, you fucking pervert. You know, it's sort of like that thing where no one knew what the hell was going on. I watched so many videos of Final Fantasy players trying out World of Warcraft for the first time, and all of them complained about the exact same thing. They did not understand a thing of the story. And I think Dragonflight does a decent enough job of, when you get into that story, you're going to understand the story of the dragons, at least. Broad strokes, you're not going to understand the full history and lore of the dragons, but this is sort of fine, because that's where, if you get people's appetites wet enough, they'll buy the books and they'll
start looking for it themselves.
Yeah, they'll start looking for it, but it gives you a nice starting off point. You know, when Alexstrasza speaks to you, you're not going to be like, who's this hot chick?
Yeah.
You're going to be like, oh, I remember her. Okay, I know who this is. I have a decent idea. So I think it hit the mark. You know, for why we're doing what we're doing on the Dragon Isles, it explained that. And I think the third one did that even better, in my opinion, because it showed why Neltharion ultimately turned against them. And then, of course, what is actually, I think, more important that I didn't even think of until right now is, why have the Void moment there? This is for new players in a Chapter 2 of World of Warcraft. Unless, of course, the Void is about to become a whole new level of problem in World of Warcraft, and they wanted to make sure that new players would understand.
By the Void moment, you mean when Razageth was consumed by the Void, I'm assuming?
Yeah, when Neltharion accepts the old gods and, you know, gets their power, and then opens this Void portal that basically imprisons her in the Forbidden Reach. That to me suggests that if this was indeed meant for new players, they want to make sure that new players know that there is such a thing as the Void. Which might mean more Void gods and old gods shit soon.
I mean, So long as they don't go too far with the friggin' cosmic stuff, I guess old gods are always to be expected in World of Warcraft, pretty much. So it's whatever. But how about the Dracthyr starting experience? I'm assuming you played that because you were playing that the other day that I came into your stream. How'd you like it?
Yeah. So we played that yesterday. I thought it was by far one of the greatest starting experiences I've had with a new class in World of Warcraft, and I really wish that Blizzard go back and do that for every single one of the classes. There were a couple of things that stood out to me. There's good and bad things. Maybe let me cover the bad things first. How are we in the year 2022 and the quest design for World of Warcraft has never changed?
Yeah. That was a big thing that I brought up in my chat as well. Like, because I think that I'm not sure if this is the first time they tried doing this with quest text, but you have them like speak out emotes in the quest text, right? As they go like, the character winces or the character groans or whatever. And I'm just like, this is a fucking video game. Show me, don't tell me, right? Isn't that just like, especially for literally anyone that's actually tried, say, Final Fantasy 14, where you actually get like these cutscenes where you see the characters like and react and stuff, and it's like in World of Warcraft was still like, the character did this, and I'm just like, what the fuck is this? Am I playing like one of those text-based MMOs, a MUD, or however they used to call them back in like 1982 or something like that? I mean, come on.
Oh yeah, I think absolutely. This is a massive. Let's call it. It's a massive improvement for World of Warcraft, specifically because that never happened in the past. The subtext where they actually tell you the character is wincing, right? But we could go further with that and actually show the character wincing, right? Or show the character cowering whilst you're actually seeing that the character is cowering. So that could happen. But I thought there was a lot of brilliant subtext that was used that has almost never been used before. And it kind of started in Zereth Mortis already, but it really picked up in the starting experience. Because every single time I brought back a quest and I handed in a quest, I would hand in the quest, and then there would be dialogue between the characters based on the quest that I had just handed in. You know, they would have actual dialogue between them. The reason I thought this was brilliant is it kind of bridges that gap between the WoW player like myself that absolutely, yes, I stood there and I watched the conversation. I didn't fly off. That would break the immersion. I stood there like I should because it's very rude to walk out of a conversation. So I'm listening to them speak. But for the guy that literally just wants to skip everything and fucking go kill some shit, they can get on their mount and just fly away, you know? They already have the next quest. But that provides such good subtext for what's going on and really makes the world feel a hell of a lot more alive rather than, you know, getting this, you know, mini cutscene every once in a while that you have to stop and stand through. You don't have to stand through this. You can literally just fly off. But for those of us that do care about this stuff, it's really cool that it's there. And it happened every single quest. So I'm really looking forward to seeing if that is true for Dragonflight as a whole.
I think an interesting thing for some of those moments would also be for players like you and me, because I also paused to hear what they were talking about because I do find that interesting. An interesting thing, an interesting feature they could have is because you know that the camera angle is not always the best. Most players play the game like fully zoomed out into the fucking moon.
Yeah.
Your character's like a little dot in the middle of the screen. One of the things that they could do is whenever one of those cutscenes is happening, they could have like, you know, the same way that they have like the action button show up every now and then with an additional special action. You could have one that shows up with a pair of binoculars where it's like, pay attention to what's happening now, and you just click that.
It zooms in and it actually shows
zoom in to like the thing. They don't even have to do like a big, expensive, like lip synced animation, but just like, let me see that from a cooler camera angle so that I can experience the lore and stuff. Because
just give it a little bit more immersion.
Yeah, because like you said earlier that like I lean much more into the dungeoneering thing, and you're right. I'm much more of a dungeon runner and all of this stuff, but I definitely feel like a lot of players would be more invested in the game if the game gave them more reason to be immersed in the game's story, which unfortunately doesn't happen a lot in World of Warcraft. And there's a moment particularly in the Dracthyr quest line that I want to talk to you about. We'll talk to you in about a couple of minutes. But there's a moment that completely just destroyed my immersion. It was like, what the... Did they suddenly like change the person writing this to a 12-year-old? Like, what the fuck happened? It was so weird. But
Which moment was that?
Yeah. What?
Which moment was that? I'm very curious now.
I'll tell you later. Like let's start from the beginning with the Dracthyr like questing experience. So they did have a couple of additional cutscenes that I thought was kind of cool, and I wish, like you said, it was a really good starting experience for someone who's starting fresh, a new class, and all of this. The way that they introduce mechanics to you and all of that, it's like, oh, here's the spell, here's this,
really cool.
and because it's like, listen, I hate playing casters. And even I was able to just like, okay, so this spell does this spell does that. Okay, they're introducing it at a pace that I can kind of like keep up with it. But it's just like I still don't like playing caster, so that wasn't particularly interesting to me. But like the cinematic moments I thought were cool because they weren't the usual like where their faces contort in like all kinds of weird shapes. It actually made sense, the expressions that the characters made and whatnot. So that was cool. And it was just like little moments like, oh, open up this door, let's go and move over here and whatnot. And little bits of exposure. I thought they worked well.
It felt like, you know what? It felt like a cinematic experience going through that starting zone.
Yes.
It really did feel, the only thing that broke it was the quest design. The fact that go kill 4 of this, go kill 12 of this, go kill 6 of this. That was so immersion breaking because, you know, you get these incredible mini cutscenes and you get these incredible subtext and conversations that's happening and you're really looking forward to the story. And then I had to go collect 6 toxin glands, but only 1 out of every 4 will drop a fucking toxin gland. And it's like, oh my God, so not every beetle has one? What the hell is going on, you know?
And then you do the little quest to save the little walrus sister, or did you just ignore them? You're like, no, fuck
No, I did that. No, I did all of the quests, I actually kind of like that. The little Tuskar baby that you have to save. I think that was a nice thing of introducing the Tuskar to brand new players because a lot of players don't understand the love that World of Warcraft players have for the Tuskar. So I think
I don't understand that either. I think those players are crazy.
I like the Tuskar. I don't want them as a playable race, but I do like them. They're cute.
And you don't like dwarves. Like, what is wrong with you?
Fuck you, dwarves. I don't care about them. They're fugly as fuck, bro. Like, no one cares about dwarves. But the Tuskar is cool. Dude, orcs are handsome as shit.
Yes.
Like, bro.
Sure.
Bro.
Let's not get too derailed. But yeah, you do the little side quest, save the little dude. You did I thought one of the things that was interesting was the healing quest that you go and do. Not the healing quest, but like the quest that you go to save the healer flight or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
That quest, the rate at which you had to like click the antidote thing was a lot higher than what I would have expected. I think that there's actually going to be like a bunch of players that are going to die on that quest. Well, not die, but like get ported back up multiple times.
Yeah.
Because they're going to forget.
I love the mechanic there because even the traveling into it, that mechanic made it feel dangerous.
Yes.
Because when they said, go and collect the antidote, I kind of thought, and I almost died the first time I ran in there because, like with all quests in World of Warcraft, you click it once, now it's applied, now you can just go.
Yeah.
Right? And then suddenly I hear my character going, and I'm looking at him and he's got these little fucking lines coming out of his head because he's dying. And I'm like, oh shit, I have to keep clicking this? Holy shit. All right.
Yeah.
So I'll just keep clicking this. And it makes it immediately feel a bit more dangerous. You're like, okay, this is a dangerous place. I should not be in here for too long. I should try and hurry the fuck up. So yeah, I really enjoyed that level of quest design. You see, and again, that is, in my opinion, good quest design. You're sending me in there to save a bunch of people from this place. Of course, there's going to be a couple of people that I have to save. Of course, there's a couple of people that stayed. You know, it is a dangerous thing. I don't mind quests like that because you would expect this. I do mind the go kill 6 of this, go kill 10 of this, go kill 12 of that. It's like, dude, because at that point, what it starts to feel like is you're trying to make the questing take a certain amount of time. And you're afraid that I'm going to finish the questing too quickly. Yeah. So now you're giving me like a certain number of things that I have to kill. And I always, when it comes to game design, I think the best way to look at it, and I've heard a lot of developers speak about this, you should always ask yourself, is what I'm doing fun? And if the answer is no, then you should probably change it. Is it fun to kill 12 different things that take 0 skill to kill? Just to be clear, your Dracthyr pretty much 1-shot, 2-shot most of these things. So it's not like it's a skill combat thing. It's not like you can mass pull them really. So it's effectively you're just pulling, one-shotting them and pulling more, one-shotting them. Why not just make it one mob that you have to go kill and then actually make that mob a little bit challenging? You know, so make me use all of my Dracthyr abilities.
Yeah, in order to actually succeed in killing the mob, like, hey, you should use your wing buffet or something like that.
Yeah, you should use your wing buffet. You should use your heal. You should use your pushback. You should use your slow, because, you know, you're trying to teach me how to play my class. And that's ultimately, you know, that's great, but that's something that I would love to see a lot more from Blizzard, replacing these stupid quests.
The thing there is that you also need to realize there are people that are going to be doing that zone and like watching Netflix on the side. Unfortunately, that's just that's the player base that they've garnered over the years, you know. And that, I just feel like there's a time and a moment for that, for like, oh, I can watch Netflix now that I've done the story. The problem is people have just gotten so used to it. They're watching Netflix while they're doing the story, and Netflix kind of just like replaces the story mostly. And then they just watch a Noble or an Acolonn video about the lore to figure out what is actually happening.
But you see, in this case, people are watching Netflix on the side because things are so mind-numbingly boring to do.
Yeah.
So this is sort of, you made an argument earlier where you said you think a lot of players don't care about the lore because, you know, Blizzard have treated their own lore in such a way that why would you care about the lore? You know, and Dragonflight obviously seems to take care of that, at least with the Dracthyr starting zone, in a hell of a lot, in a much better way.
Yes.
But a big part of that is also, if for me to find out the lore, there's like a shit ton of barriers in between the lore and me actually learning the lore, most players are going to opt out of learning the lore. Because there's barriers there. Because for me to know the lore, I have to read this much text the whole time. Most of the text that you give me to read is completely useless and not important whatsoever. And then sometimes there will be quests that's really important and you have to actually read it. That's a barrier to entry. For a lot of players, they're not going to want to stand there the whole time and read. I'm one of the weird ones. I read actually every single quest. That's why it always takes me so long to level. But most people are not going to do that. Whereas if you could make it to where what you said there, you know, zoom in, actually show the different characters having a conversation, show them reacting while they're telling you what's going on, even if it is text, that, you know, the guy that doesn't give a fuck can literally just skip through all of that and just continue. Yep. But I feel like a lot of players will actually stand there and go, oh, okay, this is cool. I like the conversation. I like the way this is playing out.
This is actually an important thing that happened to me during Shadowlands, which is I was trying to do that. I was trying to read every quest. And what ended up happening is that I realized, look, most of these quests that I'm reading is like some random justification that they're coming up with that has no bearing whatsoever in the story, but it's just basically this character trying to justify why they're sending me to kill 10 things.
Yeah.
Like that was like a majority of the quests in Shadowlands. So I got to a point where it wasn't even me doing it consciously, it was just my brain, like it was just filtering out the information, because like my brain itself got bored of it. It's like, hey, listen, this is just boring drivel about some random fucking farmer in Bastion that needs me to go kill something. And it's like, I don't care about like what this random farmer's problems is. I care about the big implications of the story that they might have, which are 0. I just happen to be doing this quest here because then it's going to lead me somewhere else where there will be story implications. And the amount of filler quests that you have is just too much. You should just have less quests that are required for the story, but more meaningful quests, and remove the fluff, remove the filler. Even if that means that like you experience the entirety of the story in 10 hours instead of 20 or whatever it happens to be, this is fine. Because at least I will leave knowing, okay, this story was cool. I experienced this thing. This was fine, and it's whatever. Because then all of a sudden, Uther showed up, and I was like, wait, what? I wasn't paying attention anymore. Why is Uther here now? It was so weird.
Yeah, the first time I saw Uther, I was also a bit blown away because I was mind-numbingly going through all of the quests.
Yeah,
but
you were
I think
zoned out.
But I think one of the problems is that, so Blizzard have two departments that basically deal with quests. You have the story department that deals with the overarching story, and then you have a quest design department that deals with the actual physical quest design. And I have an inkling that they also deal with quest text. Now, I think this should change. I think all quest text or dialogue should be written by the story department.
Yes.
Because dialogue is narration. Narration is story. It should be written by the story guys. The quest design guys should literally just design the moments between this dialogue taking place. And I think that will already do a massive job of bridging the gap between people that actually care about the story and people who don't. And for anyone that tells me that the vast majority of WoW players don't care about the story, need to explain why so many WoW players quit WoW, played Final Fantasy, and fucking loved the story, a game that is all about its story.
Yep, exactly.
You know? And yeah, some people did go back to WoW because there are things that WoW do better than Final Fantasy, just as there are things that Final Fantasy does that's better than WoW. But if it was true that the majority of WoW players don't give a shit about the story, then the majority of WoW players that lived for Final Fantasy would have hated it.
Yeah,
they would have despised the story. And most people didn't despise the story. So this is sort of where I say, I don't want World of Warcraft to become Final Fantasy because I think it is fundamentally two different players that will play the two games. But I do think that WoW can benefit from putting a little bit more effort into how they tell the story.
Yeah.
And I think Dracthyr Starting Zone is a wonderful first step. Just to be clear, I don't want anything. I want a little bit more than what they did for the Dracthyr starting, but not a lot. Like 10% more, and we're perfect for where WoW needs to be.
It's okay, but the overall impression that I got from Dracthyr Starting Zone is that it didn't really hype me up massively because I was like, okay, I want to see what the questing experience is going to be like in Dragonflight, right? And I kind of feel like the Dracthyr Starting Zone is what is going to give you an idea of what that questing is going to be like. And I guess I was expecting that questing to be a little bit more involved. I was expecting it to pull me in much more than it did. But it might also be due to the fact that, like, I fundamentally don't care about Dracthyr. So the struggles that they were having, to me, it's whatever. I actually thought it was funny when Rathian got bitch slapped by a rock, and that was it. Like, oh, the big mighty Rathian, one rock, dead. It's like, it's done. Got hit in the head by a rock and he was done. I'm like, bro, I eat tank busters for breakfast and you're sitting out here, you got whacked by a rock and you're down. But that was one of the things that I wanted to ask you, because this is a lore question that I don't know the answer to. Why the fuck are the primalists so much more powerful than the aspects?
So we don't have an answer to this. I do have a theory on it. So I believe that, like with all things, the Titans create order. Okay, so the Titans came in, and where normal primalists have access to primal elemental magic, which is the foundational magic of the great beyond. It is abundant. It is never ending. It's literally infinite in its in all of its reservoirs, and it is everywhere. So in other words, the primalists, like for example Razageth the Storm Eater, there is literally no shortage of water, wind, and fire, and whatever else that Razageth eats in order. It would probably be earth, water, and wind. I would assume that's what air. It would be, it would be air, water, and earth, I think, is what Razageth would consume in order to become the Storm Eater. There's no limit to that. She can literally consume as much as she wants, and it will just never end. Whereas the aspects, they were locked into very specific forms of magic. So Alexstrasza is the life binder, and she only has access to the magic of life. Deathwing is the earth water, and he only has access to earth. Ysera is the dream, is the guardian of the dream, and she only has access to the dream. None of the other magical forces answers to them due to this, let's bring order to the universe. So if you put the dragon aspects together, they're incredibly strong. So they're designed to fight as a singular unit. But alone, they have no power. Whereas the Primal Incarnates, alone or together, they are fucking unstoppable. So it doesn't even matter. That's why Raszageth gets so angry at Rathian when Rathian says that he had hoped to become what Deathwing was meant to be. She gets angry because she's like, Nalfarian has no idea what dragons were meant to be. You know, so they truly believe that what the Titans did wasn't a gift. Like Alexstrasza says, they did not want they rejected the Titans' gifts because they didn't see it as gifts. They saw it as burdens, as curses, as making them weaker so as to make them more controllable. So that's just fucking headcanon. I have no idea because we haven't gotten any information on that yet.
Because like it seems to me like every single aspect is actually scared to death of Raszageth, and the thing that is presented to us during the Dracthyr questing experience is that Raszageth's like, I could kill all of you right now, no problem, easy money. Yeah. And that's another thing about it that I was like, well, why don't you? And she doesn't. She's like, no, instead I'm gonna run away and I'm gonna become a raid boss later. Not really run away, but I'm gonna fly away. Not like she was running. Yeah. She was like, whatever. You people are meaningless. She killed none of the aspects, and she could have. And I kind of feel like that breaks it a little bit. Like, why not just kill Rathian from the get? I mean, I'm not saying that I want Rathian to die. I understand why they didn't kill him from a story perspective, but I feel like that is not justified with the events that take place. Why wouldn't she kill Rathian to send a message? Or kill Abyssian? Doesn't she bitch slap Abyssian? Because I rotated my camera and Abyssian ended up like friggin' buried beneath a bunch of rubble. And I was like, wow. Yeah. So Rathian gets bitch slapped by a rock. Abyssian gets bitch slapped by whatever. She's just like slapping them aspects left, right, but doesn't kill any of them.
So my chat had an interesting idea around that when we did it, where they said she's not at full strength. Remember, she's been locked up for a really long time. Her armies aren't at full strength. She isn't at full strength. So basically what she's doing right now is she needs to awaken the other primal incarnates. Now, here's where things get really scary. You saw how quickly she took down Rathian and Ebonhorn. She's the youngest of all the primal incarnates. She's not the most powerful.
Yeah, people are telling me that too.
So the others?
Yeah, exactly.
That's gonna be huge.
The power levels are friggin' massive. So I guess I'll get to the point where the thing that really disappointed me is like, so you have all of these things that happen throughout the quest line, and it's like the writing's not the best in the world, but it's good enough to keep you immersed throughout the whole zone. And it's like there's justifications for every action that you have to take throughout. And then you get to the ending. And this was really confusing because you get to the very ending of it and Dormu shows up and whatnot. Now we're going to fly you away and you have to go out into the world. And for starters, there's a little bit of disconnect there because like I'm one of the Dracthyr. I'm like super mighty warrior, super powerful, all of this. Well, the Primalists came. I guess I'm leaving. Yeah. It's like, the Primalists are here. We out. It's like, that's it. We're done. Bye. See you guys later. So that's like the first thing. And then the other thing was, because I could even accept that one, but there's one faction of the Dracthyr, the Ebon Scale. And this is the part that to me, this was written by a 12-year-old. Like the Ebon Scale, the leader of the Ebon Scale, whatever, just goes like, I will never bow down to dragons again. Blah, blah, blah. We're now known as the Shattered Flame. Bye. And I was like, Did you just come up with that name? Like just this second? Did you just decide to rename your order in these 30 seconds from which you started speaking until you were done? Like, did you have a meeting before? It was just like, and here's a piece that was written by a 12-year-old, dropped in like a grenade, and we're gone. And I was like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, I agree with you there. I didn't mind it from a story perspective, because I do think it adds a nice little twist. Because now we have the dragon aspects that we have to get their power back for. We have the primalists that is going to be a problem. We have the primal incarnates that's a problem. But now we also have the Dracthyr faction.
Rogue faction.
be a serious fucking problem at some point. I thought the writing on that could have been a little bit better, but I do think they did a decent job throughout it. I always thought throughout the entire thing, I thought this guy was going to be a problem. I remember even saying to my chat, dude, why is this guy being a little bitch the whole fucking time? Like he was constantly challenging everyone, and you could see that he was not happy with any of this. So I do think from that perspective, they did a decent job. But yeah, that final moments did feel a little bit like a tantrum. You know, he was just throwing a tantrum and running away like you would expect a 12-year-old to do. So that I didn't like. I will say the other thing that I loved, and I know a lot of people might not agree with me, dragon riding. And this is even a very muted form of dragon riding.
Yes.
But, dude,
it was pretty good.
Was it fun? It was so fun. Because this is what flying has always been missing. This things that you could do while you're flying that actually makes it faster, that actually makes it cooler, that keeps you engaged whilst flying. Rather than just, get on your flying mount and then fly over to the other side, auto flying effectively. I thought dragon riding is just phenomenal. And I really hope that dragon riding keeps going even after this expansion.
They need
that we
to.
get a lot more dragon riding in future expansions. Because this fixes all my problems that I have ever had with flying.
Yeah, I agree. Like, because the big thing with me has always been that flying is just not an interesting means of transportation. It's just a way for you to skip content. And, even though you can skip content even faster, you might argue with this, but at least the world is designed with it in mind from the get-go, as opposed to it being designed in a way where, okay, this zone's going to be fucking miserable for a bunch of hours until you unlock flying, then it's going to be okay. And, people usually like to say that I don't criticize Final Fantasy XIV enough. It has plenty of zones like that as well, and I criticize them all the time because Final Fantasy XIV also has zones, even though you can navigate them just fine, they feel fucking miserable until you unlock flying, and then you unlock flying and the zone feels okay. But this is something that plagues most MMOs that have flying mounts. Like, there's just zones that are designed, and the level designers, when they're designing them, they're like, okay, eventually players are going to have flying mounts, so we're going to put something here, something there, something whatever. But the initial experience is fucking miserable. And
I mean, one of the zones was the cloud zone in Final Fantasy that I fucking loathed.
Cloud zone?
Cloud.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I don't know the name of it either, but I know what you're saying. I think it's Camp Cloud Top or something like that.
Yeah, Camp Cloud Top. Sea of Clouds, that's the one. Yeah, Sea of Clouds. I hated that. It was such a horrible zone until you get flying and then you can... And again, yes, Final Fantasy has a far more interesting way of unlocking flying.
Yes.
But once you unlock flying, it suffers from the exact same problem.
It has the same problem.
You have an automatic system to skip a bunch of gameplay.
I would actually argue that Final Fantasy XIV ends up suffering a little bit more than World of Warcraft once you unlock of the problem that we're talking about. Once you have flying, you can skip everything. And what they suffer from is that the zones are fundamentally smaller because they're not connected. Whereas in World of Warcraft, for instance, if you go to and World of Warcraft has the same problem with Shadowlands, though, because it's like 4 little islands, and it's like it's basically a Final Fantasy XIV zone. But the previous places, so like, for instance, in Northrend, you can fly from like one end of the map to the other.
To the other side,
and you feel much more immersed. Whereas in 14, when you get flying, it's like you're inside a box, basically. The zone is just a box that you're in.
That's true. That is actually very true. I do think fundamentally the reason I like dragon riding so much is, yes, you're still skipping gameplay, but you're skipping gameplay with gameplay.
Yeah.
It's not like the previous one where flying just auto-flying to your next location. No, now you actually have to be there. You have to do this. And you can't just auto-fly there. There's buttons that you have to press. And that makes it just super fun because I was already there, trying to do cool shit, like go through the trees and fucking like skip things and dive down. Even when I didn't have to dive down, I would dive down, I would go up. It's fun. And that's
the
all
reason
that matters.
the reason why I almost want to delete the Dracthyr that I made and then go back and get to that part of the quest where they give you the scroll to reset so that you can keep flying to test it more. Because like once I was stuck with the 5-minute cooldown, I was like, man, this fucking sucks.
Yeah.
5-minute cooldown, bro.
But luckily,
that's not going to be the case.
10 days.
Yeah.
In 10 days, I'll be dragon riding, and I have a feeling I'm going to take so long to finish the quests because I am pretty sure I'm just going to be dragon riding the whole fucking time.
but see, that's another thing that I think is important to bring up, because this was something that someone from my chat brought up when I finished the experience, because it didn't take very long to finish like the pre-patch experience where I went and I did the Dracthyr starting area, then I swapped to my main character, did like the pre-quests that you do with Toddy fucking Whiskers or whatever.
Yeah.
So I did those quests and then went and did one of the invasions, killed one of the bosses. I think I killed him like twice or whatever, just to check out the invasion thing. And then I was like, okay. I also did the Older Man dungeon, the new Older Man dungeon. And I was like, okay, I did most of the things already from the pre-patch. And I was like, okay, I'm kind of done. And somebody from my chat, Looney, basically said, okay, yeah, see, I told you that the pre-patch wasn't good. And I was like, what do you mean it wasn't good? Well, like I got my Dracthyr Totem level 300 in the first day, and now I'm done. And I was like, this to me is actually a very good thing. Like, this is a very good thing that we were able to do all of these things. You know, do the Dracthyr starting area. Do invasions if you want to. You don't have to do them. Yeah. Do the pre-quests. Do the new dungeon and all. Not really new, but do the revamped Older Man dungeon or whatever. Do all of that in the span of a couple of hours, and then you're done. And I'm like, this is actually a really good indicator for Dragonflight, because there were no engagement systems there. I mean, there kind of is. If you want to go unlock the heirloom or whatever, you can go grind the invasions until your eyeballs fall out. I don't give a fuck about the heirloom, so it's whatever. So it's like there are systems there for you to grind, and you can still go do the usual grindy stuff with Mythic Plus and whatever and rating and all of that, but you don't have to. Yeah. You can just chill. You can just be like, oh, maybe you feel like, doing something in the world. Maybe you don't. And if you don't, maybe you can go play another game. I'm like, this is a great indicator. This is good. They didn't force me to play the game against my will. I was able to just do the things that I wanted. And when I was done, I'm like, oh, good. I don't feel like they're forcing me to do anything else. That's fucking revolutionary.
I would say I absolutely agree with you. The one part that I would probably throw out as a big gripe for me with the pre-patch is I like the concept. I love the spawns. I do think the spawns take a little bit long, but that's fine. But the world bosses are just... So I remember back in the day, world bosses, it was such a cool concept, going with 60, 70 people fighting a world boss. It was just absolutely incredible. And now it's lag fucking central.
Oh, yeah, it was terrible.
You can't dodge shit. You can't move, especially if you're on a realm like Kazakh, where, you can't move at all. You're literally just standing there. You're getting hit by shit that you didn't see because it's fucking lagging out. It feels horrible to do these world bosses. And Blizzard keeps pushing this world boss design, even though their realms or their servers physically can't handle it anymore.
Yeah, Sorry, keep going.
No, I was just thinking, why not make the boss 10-man only, and then phase people into it in groups of 10? Okay, so it's 10 people that take on a boss, no more. It's in a shard of its own. And that way you eliminate a lot of the fucking lag that would otherwise happen. And you can actually have a good, decent experience killing things rather than just this. Because that's what I did on my Warlock. I literally threw my corruption on there, and then I would just stand around and fucking look pretty. Because I can't do this. I have so much lag. It's unreal to play like that.
I can imagine with you being in South Africa probably doesn't help, but let me tell you that even in Europe, like the lag was, as a matter of fact, it's not even like ISP lag, I don't think. It's mostly performance lag. Because like I'll tell you right now, the first time that I went to try and do one of these primal invasions, it was actually on my laptop, which is not as powerful as my PC. So I was just thinking to myself, oh, clearly the laptop's being like overloaded by the number of mobs and explosions that are being here. It was almost impossible to play on the laptop. It was like super framey. It was a fucking miserable experience. And then the next day I did it on stream on my PC and it was exactly the same. And I'm just like, okay, so my laptop has a 1070 mobile. My PC has a 6900 XT. Should be a little bit different. Then again, it's, World of Warcraft pulls more from processor, but even then, my PC has a fucking Ryzen 9, right?
Yeah.
It is like, listen, my PC is not bottlenecked by anything. It's the optimization of World of Warcraft that is just like fucking miserable with these events.
If Blizzard tells me that it's my PC, they can suck my balls.
Yes.
Like, I had my task manager open while I was doing it, and at no point during any of those fights was my graphics card above 30% or my CPU, because I also have Ryzen 9 5900X. It wasn't going above 25%. So where the fuck? Why is my CPU not using 75% of itself to make this better? No, it's your fucking servers. But we know it's the servers. Blizzard knows it's the servers. The problem is that Blizzard doesn't seem to know how to fix the servers, because the problem stems from the combat log. The combat log needs to be there to make damage meters work. If you remove damage meters, people fucking lose their heads. So what do? Because you need to have the combat log there, but the combat log is creating...
I don't think it's just the combat log, though.
So the reason we know that it's the combat log is Preach a few years ago, like 2 years ago, Preach made a video where he basically sort of, after speaking to a number of network engineers, Preach came up with what he deemed to be the reason for the combat log, or for why the servers lag so much whenever there's world bosses up. And he said that it's the combat log. And then Ian, in a separate interview, was asked about the server performance, and Ian said, if you've watched Preach's video, that's fairly close to what the problem is.
Ooh, okay.
So they know what the problem is, and I think I should just be very charitable towards Blizzard here and just explain this. So what ends up happening is when you do damage, so let's say you throw a spell on a boss, okay, it does 300 damage. That 300 damage is now sent from the server to you and back to the server to make sure that it's handshaking and that it knows that you saw the damage and the damage is there. But it also then sends that 300 damage to all other players in the vicinity and back again, because they have to know that you're doing the damage, okay? And all of their damage is being sent to the server, to everyone else, and also back to them. So that's where the bottlenecks start to come in, because basically the server can just not handshake with that many people at the same time the whole time. And so it starts slowing down because it's trying to get all of this information through. And if you change that, you break damage meters. So basically, Blizzard is stuck between a rock and a very hard place. On the one hand, they can keep damage meters, but make it personal only. So you can see how much damage you're doing, but you can't see how much damage anyone else is doing. People will lose their minds, especially hardcore raiders, because, everyone wants to be top of the log. I guess in that way, you will be top of the log always, because it's just you.
Yeah.
But, that's what people want. The other option is to just remove damage meters entirely.
To
which,
me,
again, same
as far
problem.
as I'm concerned, remove them. If it solves the problem, get rid of them. Don't care.
You see, I would be on board with that as well, because from a personal opinion, I think damage meters cause a lot more harm than good. But I also understand why some people don't want to remove them, because for some people it really is helpful and they really do want to see how much damage they do.
So here's
and I don't want to take things away from players.
Here's the very easy thing. Okay, when are damage meters importable? Let's be real here. When are damage meters importable? Mythic Plus, Heroic rating, and Mythic rating. That's maybe normal rating. I don't know. But it's like there are 4 situations that you can instantly identify when damage meters are important. Are damage meters important when we're doing what we're doing right now with these primalist boss? No, nobody gives a fuck. Nobody cares. And anybody who does give a fuck has problems in their brain. Their brain doesn't work right. So it's like,
Yeah.
you could just disable it for these events then. Okay, if there's a boss in the area, disable the combat log, boom, no damage. Problem solved.
I don't know if you see, but this is where we would come down to network infrastructure and server infrastructure, because there's a good chance that the server was never built to be compartmentalized in that way.
Yeah.
So when you have combat logging and combat logs everywhere, and you can't really turn it on and off for different places,
But it's
so this
time
is where
for them
they
to
would
fix
have to
it.
go in. Yeah,
But
they would have to go and fix it. But that
Either
would
way-
fix the problem instantly for me.
This tells you that basically you can expect the launch of Dragonflight to be massively laggy as fuck still. And
Oh, yeah.
I would also
But that's part of the charm.
I would also argue that they could have potentially used a little bit more time to polish up a couple of more aspects of the game before this pre-patch was implemented, because I'm not sure if you had the same bug as me, but I had a lot of people in my chat telling me they were experiencing this same bug as well, which is in the Dracthyr starting zone, there was actually a bug where every now and then your screen would just become full yellow for no reason and then go back to the game. It was like, poof, one flash of yellow
I
and
had
boom,
that.
back into the game.
I didn't have that. I had actually, the only bug I had was every once in a while my UI would become unclickable. Like I wouldn't be able to put anything in my bag or take anything out of my bag. But that was the only real problem that I had. Outside of that, I actually didn't experience a single bug going through it. But that's usually the nature of bugs.
Yeah.
That's why bug fixing is so fucking difficult, because it might be that during the entire beta, that problem of the yellow screen didn't pop up for anyone. Like, no one had that bug. And now that the game is live, now suddenly with millions of people playing through it, now that problem is popping up. So now they have to go in and fix it. And I do want to say here, just for everyone that might be sort of reluctant to forgive Blizzard for this, I have never had a problem with bugs at the launch of a game. It is going to happen. I'm currently playing Warzone 2.0. Warzone 2.0 just went live, and it is buggy as fuck. And my friends are also losing their minds because, like, oh my God, we waited so long for this and we want to play. And I'm like, dude, it's a new game. What are you going to do? You know, it is going to happen. There's literally nothing that we can do about it. Because you have to forgive that. It's a new game. Games are so complex nowadays. Forgive them those small bugs. What I want to see is, can they fix it? You know, can those bugs be fixed? How long does it take them to fix those bugs? Because in the past, that's sometimes been a real problem.
What I want to see is if they can deliver a good enough expansion. Let's put it like that. But there's massive lag. I guess we'll move on to some of the more recent news that was pretty interesting, where Blizzard is having some relationship problems. Apparently, friendship ended with Netease. China no longer my best friend.
Yep. And you have to wonder, how is that even happening? Now, again, probably just a little bit of backstory for anyone that doesn't know. So China has a couple of weird rules.
Yes.
You're not allowed to do business in China unless you're doing business through an official company of the government. Netease, all of these companies are run effectively by the government, because even though there are private companies, they have party members that sit on the boards and things for those companies. This is how the government can basically control those companies to have them back. And you're not allowed to release your games there unless you do it through one of these companies. So that's basically very protectionist of China.
Blizzard's partner when it comes to publishing their games over on China has been Netease, which is also the people who developed Diablo Immortal. Now, I don't know which company is more responsible for the way that Diablo Immortal was developed, but to me, whoever that person was, they're absolute scum. Right now I'm blaming Netease because they're the ones who supposedly developed the game. I think Diablo Immortal is a shitty game, regardless of whether or not the monetization is there. I still think it's a shitty, terrible game. So to me, Netease are basically scumbags, and Blizzard breaking up with them, to me, I see that as, almost as an absolute win. I think it sucks for people in China because they're going to lose access to a lot of Blizzard games, even if most likely it's only going to be temporary. But yeah, that's the situation. I've been reading a lot of articles, and I saw the Bellular video about this. And a couple of the articles stated that the impact of Blizzard games in Netease revenue was actually in the low single digits. This is because Netease has been like diversifying their portfolio, working with a lot more people besides just Blizzard. And I think that the reason why they've reached this breaking point is like Netease went to Blizzard and they were like, we want more money. And Blizzard's like, no. We want more money, so you're getting less money. And Netease like, no. We want more money. And on and on and on it went. And then suddenly Blizzard came out and was like, okay, fuck these guys. We don't like them anymore. And we're breaking up with them with everything except Diablo Immortal because it was co-developed. So Diablo Immortal is going to remain in China. But every other Blizzard product coming the end of January, that's gone.
Yeah, I do think because my chat was also making a big deal out of this when it first happened. I didn't even make a video on it, and here's why. The reason Blizzard and NetEase broke up isn't because of anything consumer related. It's not because Blizzard suddenly grew a conscience and now they're like, oh my god, we really do care about our gamers, and we think that gamers should have a really good game and not be monetized out the fucking asshole. No. It is because of money. That's the only reason. One wanted more money than what the other one was willing to let go of, and ultimately they decided to just break apart. Because I do think when Blizzard entered into this contract in the beginning with NetEase was rather small-ish. It wasn't yet at the size that it is now, whereas NetEase has just exploded. It is a massive gaming company. Not as big as Tencent, but I think very close to that level. So at the end of the day, NetEase probably just realized that they no longer need Blizzard. That they can literally survive without Blizzard. And there's going to be more Chinese companies.
Low single-digit numbers is what they classified their revenue of the percentage of revenue from Blizzard. So yeah.
Yeah, but even if you look at Blizzard, right? So Blizzard's overall income from NetEase from China is something like. It was also low. I think it was like 2 or 3% of their overall income comes from China.
And you want to know one of the most interesting things about this? Like, would you argue that a lot of the changes that Blizzard has done to a lot of their games over the years were changes that were meant to make it a better product to be sold in China?
I would definitely say monetization-wise, yes.
Yes, right? Now, here's the interesting thing, because from the data that one of the points that Bellular brought up in this video is that apparently in China, World of Warcraft Classic is much more popular than World of Warcraft Retail. So it's like they're doing all these changes to the game to be better monetized for China, and then the Chinese are like, "Nah, we'll take vanilla, thank you. That's our favorite flavor of ice cream is actually vanilla. Thanks."
Yeah.
So they've been playing Classic.
So the thing is, and this
is
and by
the way, one more thing, because you don't like Warriors. Warriors are popular as fuck in China, dude.
It shows you, bro. Warriors are always popular with dictators.
Okay.
Xi Jinping probably plays a fucking warrior as well.
So I'm a dictator. Is that it? All right. But
no, I mean,
go ahead.
So the thing with we were watching this interview with Ghostcrawler, who's the lead developer on the new Riot MMO, and he was asked this question about monetization and how that monetization would work. Yeah, and he basically explained that if you look at the West is very anti-pay to win, anti basically anything in cash shops. Whereas if you go to the East, they're very pro that shit. They're like 100%, you know what? I have a hard job. I work long hours. Why shouldn't I be able to buy myself all the cool things? Why should I grind this shit? Now, I do think that the sad part, and I say sad here in massive quotation marks, the sad part for companies that is currently trying to focus on both the West and the East is finding that balance. On the one side, making the game pay to win kills it in the West. On the other, if you make it completely free to play or just buy to play, you lose players in the East. Because again, the problem for players in the East is I don't have time to grind everything in the game. I want to be able to pay to skip some of the shit. So I do think that the aggressive monetization that we've seen over the recent years in games like World of Warcraft, where more and more of the really cool mounts move to the cash store and fewer and fewer of the really cool mounts make it into the game, is for the Asian markets. It is because of the Asian markets. Because those players want to be able to buy cool things without necessarily having to grind for it. Whereas in the West, we're far more interested in I would grind for every single mount in World of Warcraft if I didn't have to buy any mounts on the cash store. Because I don't mind grinding. Well, not every single mount, but I would grind for mounts that I like. This is one of the reasons I grinded for years to try and get Invincible, because I still believe that Invincible is... Invincible, let me say this correctly. Invincible would have been the coolest mount in World of Warcraft if it actually existed. Like, that would have been such a cool mount. But, it doesn't exist, so I can't get it.
That's too bad.
Yeah. But, yeah, so the thing for me is just, I think players are very excited for this split, not realizing that within the next month or two, Blizzard will announce their next partner. China.
They will, and here's so before I even get to that, another one of the things that I wanted to bring up is crap, I lost it. I had something that I wanted to say and I lost it. But anyways, one of the things that I brought up was with them breaking up. One of the reasons why I feel like Blizzard could potentially be being this aggressive with the breakup is because you know how Microsoft is supposedly going to be merging with them. So I wouldn't put it past them that already Blizzard just goes and they're like, hey, Phil, can you hook us up in China? Because Microsoft obviously have distribution partners in China. They could very easily put in a word and Blizzard has a new partner like that. And it is obviously in Microsoft's best interest that Blizzard remains in Chinese territory because they're going to be making money there. So, as considering that Microsoft hasn't pulled out of the deal, of course, there's all of these probe things and whatnot that is happening with the UK and whatnot, but there hasn't really been anything that's like, no, this deal is definitely not happening. So it is still in Microsoft's best interest to help Blizzard out as much as they possibly can, and therefore, I do believe that Blizzard is... Basically, they went to Microsoft. Microsoft said, yeah, just call these guys up. We already sent out an email. You're pretty much set up. So by the moment that NDAs or whatever that they have with contracts lift up, they're going to be like, we're going to be serving our games in China through this other partner, which I believe of the name of the Microsoft partner, I Googled it up earlier, was CETC. They're like a big electronics manufacturer or whatever. They have a bunch of subdivisions, so they're probably going to be like a subdivision of CETC is going to partner up with Blizzard to distribute stuff in China. That is my interpretation of that.
So, in my opinion, there's a third option that is, I think, less explored within the gaming side of things because it is far more political. But okay, so America and China is currently decoupling at a rate that's never been seen before in the history of the world. No two countries have ever decoupled this aggressively from one another. The only other times we've ever seen this is during war or right before a war is about to start. Now, it doesn't seem like either of these countries are interested in going to war, but it does seem like America has reached the point now where it's going, fuck China. We don't need China. We don't want China. Not
conventional war, but they're definitely going at it economically. There's definitely an economical war going on.
Yeah, there's no active war, but it is definitely a war by proxy at this point. But, I mean, Biden has already placed massive restrictions on companies like NVIDIA, AMD, and their ability to actually trade physical goods, specifically chips, with China. And it could be that Microsoft, Blizzard, all of these companies is expecting a full-on ban in doing business with China coming down the pipeline. So any American company that does business with China just instantly gets all of its funding or all of its protections cut off from the US government. That is possible. So that is a third, albeit much less likely option, because the way that I know businesses, and I think I know enough of it, they would ride that wave literally until the last minute.
Yeah, of course.
So, they would literally wait until if Biden said on Monday, 12 o'clock, they will cancel that deal on Monday, 11:59. That's when they will cancel the deal.
And here's another interesting thing, speaking about riding it all the way up until the last minute. Even though it's now public that Blizzard games are going to be coming out of China, it's like at the end of the 23rd day of January or whatever, games are no longer going to be supported. You're not going to be able to log in anymore. Blizzard's still like, oh, but by the way, you can still buy Dragonflight and you can play Dragonflight. I wonder if they have the bundle, the 1 year subscription bundle there as well.
I mean, they might. The other option, of course,
it's like
is
the ultimate scumbaggery, dude. It's like, buy 1 year of World of Warcraft, which expires in January 24th.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that they're doing that, that's why I say that's sort of like an outside chance of the third option being the viable option, because of the fact that they are still selling all of those items. Although they did say that those items will be pulled from market within the coming week. So within the next couple of days, we're probably going to hear that Chinese players can't buy any of those games anymore and they can't sub anymore. All of these services have now been discontinued until they can find a new partner. But that is an option, because Biden has made it, I think, abundantly clear through his actions that he's done doing business with China. He doesn't want to do business with China. Right now, it is limited or restricted to just physical chiplets. But that could very easily change to just a full-on thing. We just had Apple announce that they're going to be, all of their chips in their newest computers are going to come from America. They're actually pulling their supplies from China into America. So there's some interesting things coming down the pipeline. We'll have to see how this affects anything. Yeah. I don't think this is going to be a case for gaming because, well, unless, of course, Biden thinks that gaming is some national security threat. Like maybe the Chinese soldiers are playing WoW, learning how to fucking wage war. I don't know. I don't see, like maybe Biden thinks Overwatch is some combat simulator. It's gonna help
Overwatch 1.15, yeah. Great title.
Yeah. But no, otherwise, I do think this is just a case of one of the two companies got very greedy. The other company wasn't interested. And Blizzard would almost definitely be the company that goes, look, we're about to merge with the largest company on the planet. This company has companies in China coming out of its butthole. We'll find a much better deal through this company than what we're going to find through our own. Because Microsoft effectively doesn't just bargain or doesn't just negotiate with Microsoft product. Or just with Blizzard products, it bargains with all of its products. So, that's probably why Blizzard decided to kill the contract before it goes anywhere else. And it might there might be a new contract in place by the time Microsoft takes over.
Yeah, that's what I would expect as well. I guess we can talk about Twitter next, because that's like the big hot topic of today. Everybody's been telling me how about Twitter is going to explode, but yet I literally just opened up the homepage and it appears to be working just fine. It's
dead, bro. It's dead. It was a hashtag rip Twitter. It's dead now.
Yeah, exactly, dude. People this morning in Portugal, I don't know what time it was on other places in the world, but like people were panicking. Like, no joke, everybody was like, oh, in case Twitter explodes, find me here. In case Twitter explodes, find me there. And I'm just like, why are we all panicking like Twitter is like a part of some central infrastructure or something? Look, bro, it's a fucking website where you write 140 characters, or if you're privileged like me, it's like 280 or whatever. I get twice as much as the rest of the plebs because I reached a certain number of followers or whatever the fuck. But it's like, listen, it's literally a website where you write 140 characters of bullshit. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I mean,
so
you can reach other people through it, and it's, sometimes there's wholesome posts, there's all of these things that happen, but it's like, if Twitter disappears tomorrow, I'm not going to mourn it. And people are like, oh, they're looking for all of these replacements. I'm like, bro, I spend so much time on social media already that it's like, Twitter disappears tomorrow, I'm not going to replace it with anything. It's gone. That's less time that I spend looking at my phone and my computer.
I saw the RIP Twitter thing, and I immediately realized that Twitter is gone, so I made an account on Truth Social. Because, obviously that's the future. Donald J. Trump's new thing, or whatever the fuck. I don't even know.
It's
no,
it's
I don't
Trump.
actually have
Is it Trumpter?
Dude, it's literally called Truth Social, the worst name for a social media company ever.
Yes.
It's just called Truth Social. Like, what if I want to lie there? Like, what then?
No, you
Am
can't
I
say
allowed
lies.
to lie?
Nope, not allowed.
But anyways, no, I don't have a Truth fucking account or whatever. I don't need more than that. But okay, so do you know where the fucking where the meme actually came from?
I mean, I looked up news, and there was a Guardian article that said that apparently there's like some senator that's saying that Twitter is going to explode, and I was like, okay, what do they know exactly about this situation? Like,
Elon Musk tweeted out a picture of a woman standing by a grave, and the grave was a picture of Twitter's logo. And that's where the RIP Twitter came from, because people are going, Elon is even saying Twitter is dead. Twitter is dead. And it's just like, bro, this guy's a master troll, and you're all just running with it. Like, RIP Twitter is the #1 trending thing in South Africa. It's like, so I made a tweet, and I was like, dudes, you're assholes. You're fucking morons if you think this is going to die. And then one of my followers were like, so what will you do if Twitter dies? And I'm like,
nothing.
I don't. Okay, so the way I use Twitter, right? I use it mainly to shitpost. I don't push any of my videos on Twitter.
Yeah, because
I've never promoted videos.
I think I've promoted videos on Twitter, but I think like people might think that because we're content creators, like Twitter is this very valuable platform for us as content creators. And it's like, let me tell you guys, the moment you put a link on Twitter, like Twitter basically takes a shotgun to your post and just blasts away at it and kills it in the search ranking algorithm. This is why you constantly see people posting like, whenever they're trying to promote something, they'll put a post that's promoting the thing, and it'll put the link on the replies to that to try and avoid. But I also think that doesn't work, even though I do it myself. No. But I don't think that works either. I think they see through that, and they just nuke it. So and you can see that, like, I'll get tons of organic engagement with Twitter when I tease a project that I'm working on and I put like an image of something. But when I link the actual projects, like, forget about it. Doesn't even matter.
See, I basically, so yeah, I don't even use, the thing is, I don't know why I would use Twitter. In all honesty, I go through massive periods of time where I forget Twitter even exists. So I'll go through like 4 or 5 days of not tweeting a fucking thing. And then I'll be like, wait, I'm forgetting something. Oh, I should tweet something. And then I'll tweet whatever random fucking crap comes into my head. Because, well, basically, if I really have something to say, I'll just go live and I'll fucking say it. Like, I don't need to tweet jack shit. I don't give a fuck.
I'd rather Twitter doesn't die. Don't get me wrong, because like I do have a certain amount of followers there and whatnot, and I engage with the Monster Hunter community a lot there and other communities, and I think it's a decent platform because one of my favorite things about Twitter, is that it limits the amount of characters. So like you really have to think about what you're typing in order to make sure that you type it in the most succinct way possible, as opposed to like you go on Facebook and someone's typing in their life story to tell you they had a bad fucking day. And it's like, all right, sure thing. So it's like, that's one of the things that I like about it is how succinct it is. And it makes it very easy for you to just like post anything that you want. But fundamentally, like my social platform is YouTube and it's Twitch and that's it. And even if those platforms disappear, it's like, hey, I'll go flip burgers at McDonald's. It's not the end of the world, whatever.
Fuck it. Am I getting a free meal though? If I flip burgers at
yeah, you get to eat McDonald's. I had a friend of mine that worked there for a while, and he said that you can eat the McDonald's food for your lunch. And I was like, that doesn't sound healthy at all. That sounds pretty fucking bad. That sounds like a bad deal.
Good,
they work you to death and then they fucking kill you with diabetes as well.
Dude, some McNuggies every day? Like, Jesus, I could live off McNuggies.
That'll be really good for you. Like fried chicken every single day. I'm sure that'll be great for your health.
It's going to be awesome. No, I genuinely have thought about what I would do if YouTube ever fucking like died or my YouTube channel died or something. And I already have the perfect plan, bro. I'm going to buy myself a nice flat top and I'm going to go make burgers on the beach. There's no one. There's like 5 coffee carts on the beach every day, right? All along the beach, you can get coffee. There's no one making burgers on the beach. I'm like, motherfucker, I'll make the best burgers you can fucking have on the beach. Like, just 100%, bro. I'll just go
beach
cook because I like cooking. I like cooking, and that'll be fun. But no, I don't give a fuck about the Twitter thing. I do think people are just running away with this shit.
I think it's mostly because, like, look, people don't like Elon Musk. They're like, I hate Elon Musk, and therefore anything that Musk says. And since Musk bought Twitter, Twitter has been terrible and all this. It's like, I do think that the situation with them basically selling verification, I think that is really fucking stupid. I think that was not a particularly good business decision.
You see, I actually think it's a perfect decision.
Here's the thing. I think you should charge for the verification, but I think that people who want to get verified should still have to go through the process of verification.
Okay, so here's what they're actually... So they are fixing verification. That's why it's been pulled now, and it will re-release once they fix it. I think it's perfectly fine to give every single person verification that have verified that they are who they say they are.
Yeah.
And if you want to charge $8 for that, I'm perfectly on board with that, because I do think the way that the verification worked on Twitter, it was basically a popularity contest of whoever Twitter likes.
Because let me tell you something. One of the things that it says if you want to get verified on Twitter is to prevent people from impersonating you. It's specific, like back in the day, because I once tried to get verified on Twitter, and it was specifically because there was someone impersonating me on Twitter at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so there's this person impersonating me. It says here that if I do this, you guys will verify me. Here's all the proof that I am who I say I am. I operate this YouTube channel. I do this thing. It's whatever. And they're like, no, fuck you. And I'm just like, so basically it's a popularity contest. All right, I get it. Whatever. It's popularity contest, and whenever you happen to work for like a big news publication or something like that, they'll verify you even if you have like a low follower count. Because I've seen people that work for like gaming publications, and they'll show up verified, and then I'm like, you have less followers than me, and also the articles you write are shit. But somehow you have Twitter verification. And that's why nobody takes the Twitter verification too seriously. But it still works. Like if you're trying to figure out, for instance, at times if I can't find a contact to, maybe I want to request a code for a game or something, like I'll go to Twitter and I'll see if their account is verified. To give an idea, I got a code, for instance, for Godfall, a review code. I got it through Twitter. I basically messaged their official account, and I was like, okay, this is the official account because it's got the verified thing. And I was able to get a code that way. So it's like, it was useful for me in order for me to be able to identify, okay, this person is actually who they say they are. But apart from that, it's whatever. It's a popularity contest.
See, but for me, the thing that made me realize that this Twitter verification thing is bullshit, and it's not even because I like these people, because I don't really care about them in any way, shape, or form. But so at some point, Twitter removed the verification badge off of a guy called Milo Yiannopoulos, I think. Yeah, it was like a massive, he's like a massive like right-wing guy. And Lawrence Southern, who's like center-right, maybe a bit further than center-right. So they removed the verification off of those, right? Now, here's where the problem comes in. This is to stop people from being able to impersonate other people. Well, these are two massive fucking people on the right. They should not be impersonated because that's technically what your verification system is for. It's not meant to show who you agree with and who you disagree with. It's meant to show that this is the actual scumbag that has the fucking thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's what it's supposed to be. So the fact that they removed that, I was like, this makes no sense. I don't think this system does what they say it does. And then I saw people that was verified with like 200 followers, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Why would this person need to be? Who the fuck is impersonating this 200 follower cunt? Like, no one cares about you. You know, there's Blizzard employees that walks around with verification that never tweets. It's like, bro, no one knows who this is outside of the person and their mother. Like, why are they verified?
It's weird.
So it's just, yeah. I thought it was just like a super useless tool. And I think the new one, if done right, will actually do its job. Because if you see someone and they have verification, I'm never going to have verification. I am degenerate enough. If you don't know it's me, then you're a fucking moron. I'm not going to pay for that shit. But, you know, if you see someone and you see that they're verified, you know that this is a real person. And you can trust that that is a real person. And that really is the only thing that I give a fuck about. I do think a lot of people are being very disingenuous with this verification thing, because like with all new technologies, whenever huge social platforms roll out new updates, there's always things that go wrong. And of course, there was going to be things that went wrong here, and they're fixing the things that's going wrong. And just to be clear, it's not like I'm a massive simp for Elon Musk. I don't have a Tesla. I don't use his solar panels. I couldn't give two fucks. I don't have any plans going to Mars, not now or in the future. So I don't give a shit. But at the end of the day, I am a huge fan of being honest. And I think a lot of people are being incredibly dishonest.
Oh, yeah.
At the moment.
Very much so. And I just don't. The other thing that I don't understand is, like, people have been on a meltdown ever since Elon Musk bought Twitter. And it's like, the platform hasn't changed almost at all. Like, yeah, there's been the verification things, but are average users actually affected by that in any meaningful way? Like, the average Twitter user is not affected by that. Like, even me, who like, you could argue that I'm maybe a little bit more of almost like a power user or whatever, because like I have 10K followers or whatever, and you know, I have to promote videos and all of this. It hasn't changed at all. I've been using it the same way that I've been using it for the past 10 years. So I don't
It's
understand.
still as cancerous as it's been.
Yes.
So I think I should be honest here. I hate Twitter with everything in me. Like, I would actually, if Elon Musk, this would have been my win. If Elon Musk bought Twitter and then closed it literally the next day, I would have been like, bro.
What a Chad.
Fucking respect. That is
What
a
a
man that
giga
I
Chad.
can get behind. You know, like, fuck that. I hate this site. I'll buy it for 44 billion and then I'll close it down. Like, I would have actually thought that would be like the biggest power move ever. Because I hate Twitter. I think Twitter is incredibly bad for humanity. I think it does a poor job of getting people to come together. Because at the end of the day, Twitter is all about basically spouting useless bullshit in 280 characters or less.
I don't hate Twitter because usually I choose who I interact with on Twitter. Now, I don't think I've blocked a single person no, there's one person that I did block, which was the motherfucker who was impersonating me. But besides that, I don't think I've ever blocked anybody on Twitter, because like sometimes people will come in and they'll say shit that I don't agree with, and I'm like, okay, whatever, say it all you want, I don't care. But most of the time, I curate my Twitter experience to interact with people that I'm interested in interacting with, and that's it. Like, sometimes there'll be like a back and forth. Sometimes it'll be more hostile. Sometimes it'll be less hostile. But it's like, I don't hate Twitter, but I do feel like there are a large amount of people on Twitter that like, they need a ridiculous amount of validation. And if you don't agree with something that they have to say, they will fucking hate you for all eternity. Like, you're almost not allowed to have a different opinion than what the majority thinks on Twitter, because that's like a fucking crime or something.
Yeah.
Is
I
really-
think my problem with Twitter, my biggest problem with Twitter, is that it's given the village idiot a voice, and it's allowed the village idiot to hook up with all the other village idiots around the world. You know, in the past, when the village had an idiot, everyone could ignore the fucking idiot because it's just one. But now all the village idiots have come together to basically form like a fucking mob, and they're just going around spouting stupid shit. And because other idiots are clicking their stupid shit, they start to feel like, oh, I think I have an idea of what I'm talking about, not realizing that, bro, you should shut the fuck up. You're not smart enough to say things. Just be quiet.
But
Be
Acolonn,
quiet. Fuck.
don't tell me you're a globetard.
I think I am, bro. Like I fucking despise the village idiots that run Twitter, bro. Like, you would not believe. I really have a deep dislike for Twitter.
No, listen,
Like,
I don't
deep.
think you understand what that was a flat Earth reference, dude.
Oh yeah, but the Earth is flat, bro.
Okay, so you're not a globetard.
No, of course
Clearly.
not. I don't even know that was a thing. Globe? What's a globe?
Yeah, exactly. The Earth is flat.
Sorry,
Not-
the Earth is
it's-
flat. That's been
It's
confirmed
not just
many
it's
times
not just
over.
flat. It's kind of like a dome. It's like a dome.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
like half a globe, even,
Yes,
if you will. But
yes,
it's not round.
and it's hollow too on the inside.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there's lizard people living in the Earth. I know that for a fact. I've seen a video.
I mean, I've seen Mark Zuckerberg. He's clearly one of them.
True. And Australia is not real, except for Australian girls who are real, but that's a fake accent, but still a hot accent, so they can keep that. But Australia as a country doesn't exist. This again, we know.
Yes. But anyway, while we're on the topic, I mean, I guess we could very briefly mention, this is kind of like old news at this point, but while we're on the topic of social media, we could briefly mention that apparently our boy Mark Zuckerberg like had to fire like a couple of thousand people because his
I heard
idea
about
for a
that.
metaverse is apparently not really panning out. Who'd have thunk it that, as we discussed in the previous podcast, that people don't actually want to sit at home with a fucking VR headset while they're working? It's like, listen, it's miserable enough that I'm working. Why do you have to make it more miserable by putting this fucking VR helmet on me? Please stop. This is reaching levels of cruel and unusual torture. And
Well,
Mark
I don't-
Zucker, like they were having to
God.
force people to use the headset over
Yeah,
on,
that-
on Meta. They're just like, you will make it your fucking life mission to love this technology.
So here's my problem with the whole metaverse. It's like Mark Zuckerberg came out, right? And I remember watching the live stream of him coming out and basically explaining what they're working on. And I sat there and I went, "You're making Second Life.
Yes.
It exists, bro. It is already
it's
a
even-
fucking thing.
It's
Like,
even
what
worse.
are you talking about?
He's not even making Second Life. He's making VR chat. He's making like a worse version of VR chat.
It's like, okay, so explain to me the difference, right? Because here's the thing with the metaverse that he's working on. I could be sitting in a Discord or a Zoom call, see the
Yes.
person IRL, right? Hear the person in my fucking headset.
Almost like
And-
what we're doing right now.
Yeah, kind of like what we're doing now, right? Almost exactly what we're doing right now. Or I could go through the extra step of seeing the person as a cartoon.
Yes.
Why the fuck would I do that?
It'd be more immersive though.
Yeah, but I'm not at the office because I don't want to be at the
Except,
office.
listen,
Now you want to put
listen.
me in a fucking virtual office.
I'm gonna show you the biggest advantage that we have in this call right now over Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse. Let me show you.
Yeah. Okay.
I have legs, motherfucker. Which is more than you can
Dude.
say in your fucking metaverse, Mark Zuckerberg.
I'm sorry. I think the dude dreamed bigger than what he could actually achieve.
Yeah.
Look, dude, you made
And it
Facebook.
flopped hard.
It was good, for a time. Facebook is now kind of the MySpace of, the
It's a
early
piece of shit.
90s.
I can't stand
no
it.
one really uses Facebook anymore. I haven't been on Facebook in a really long time. I still have it, but I have like 20 people that I follow, which is like literally just my family members. And I don't even see what the fuck they type or post. No one cares about Facebook anymore. It's dead. And now the dude comes out with, oh, we're going to do the metaverse. And I'm like, can we not just have this meeting in WoW? Like, how about we all log into Azeroth, we go kill a boss, and while we're doing the dungeon, we quickly have this business meeting.
We can have the business meeting, yeah.
Much more fun than being in your fucking virtual office discussing bullshit that no one cares about. So yeah,
with visuals
I think
from
the guy's
like
a moron.
1999 or some shit like that.
True. No one cares. No one gives a shit about that. So yeah,
Zero fucks
good
given.
for him. I do think the company Meta is safe still. I think a lot of people are overselling the death of Meta because while Facebook isn't doing well, Instagram and Snapchat is apparently popping the fuck off.
Oh, yeah. Instagram's always been popping off ever since it came out, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like it's
I've been using
affected by
Instagram a lot
anything.
more. Like I've been cataloging a lot of my weight loss stuff over there. I say a lot. Like once a month I take pictures at the gym and post them. And then I do shorts on TikTok that I just move over to Instagram.
Dude, TikTok is absolute fucking cancer. Like, I can't believe you would post videos on there, dude. It's
The only reason I'm
fundamentally
posting
cancer.
it on there is I'm already making the shorts for YouTube, so may as well post them on TikTok
Listen,
too.
Xi Jinping thanks you, comrade.
He's welcome. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. I mean, he can steal my data. There's nothing to steal. Like, I'm not a threat to him. I play video games for a fucking living, and I talk about crap on the internet. I mean, if he wants my data, I'll give it to him.
I just realized that what you're drinking is called Stony ginger beer.
Yeah. It's sugar-free Stony ginger beer.
Not sponsored, by the way.
No one
product
wants
placement.
to sponsor me. Sad face.
Okay, so I guess the other thing that we should bring up as well is I don't know if you've been paying attention to the Game Awards.
Not really.
Not at all. You don't care about the Game Awards.
I do care about it insofar as it's free content. What I don't care about is the fact that it's like 6 hours, but it could have been just an hour. Because I already know the Game Awards is going to come on. I'm going to sit there and watch it with my viewers. And halfway through, we're all going to start complaining that what is this ads? Because they literally, you get ads and then sometimes you get a fucking award being handed out. And that's about it. The Game Awards, I remember watching the first one. It was fucking awesome. The first one was so cool. The second one that came the next year, it was just, here's 30 seconds of like a new game. Here's 5 minutes of ads. And then we do another award and then 5 minutes of ads and another award and 5 minutes of ads. And it's like, Jesus.
I think you're exaggerating
Where's
a little
the Game
bit.
Awards?
Like,
Dude, it's a lot of ads.
I enjoy the show. I think the show is fun. But it's like, you need to understand the amount of, in my opinion at least, the amount of investment that it takes to pull on a show like that. They need ads. Like, there's no...
Yeah, probably.
There's no getting around that.
I don't mind it. I like watching the highlights of it usually.
Who got your vote for Game of the Year?
Do
you even know the nominees?
No, I don't need the nominees because I already know which one I want. Elden Ring.
Oh, okay, that works. All right, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I want Elden Ring to get it. I think Elden Ring was phenomenal. I haven't even finished it, and I still think it's phenomenal.
But have you been playing a lot more than what you've played on stream?
Yeah. I have played more. Not a lot more. You know how I play games.
Yes.
I love games, and that's why.
Not the same way that you eat food.
No. When I eat food, it has to be in an order, and it has to be finished before I can move on to the next thing. When I play games,
not like that.
Yeah, I'll play like an hour here, and then I'll switch to another game, and I'll play an hour there, and I'll get back to it in 6 months, and then I'll play it again. But yeah, no, I thought it was a phenomenal game. I don't think it's going to win though. I think God of War.
You think God of War is going to win? Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. I don't think it's even close. And from
I think it will be somewhat close. The problem is the jury, because the jury are the ones who decide all of this. And if you go to the website and you see who the jury is, it's mostly mainstream media publications, and they're going to put God of War Ragnarok up there. I haven't finished God of War Ragnarok, but I have been playing it quite a bit.
From what I've heard, so I've heard a couple of people say that they don't like the dialogue in the new God of War. Like a lot of people say the dialogue sometimes doesn't feel like Kratos. Like a lot of the way they wrote Kratos this time, it doesn't feel like Kratos always. It sometimes feels like it's almost a 12-year-old that wrote the dialogue trying to make a joke, and then it just doesn't feel like Kratos really. I don't know. I've not watched anything for God of War, to be fair.
I think that people who think like, I mean, I haven't seen like what the critical appraise has been for God of War. I mean, I've seen that there's a lot of publications that give it like 10 out of 10 and whatnot. I don't think it's a 10 out of 10 game, personally. I think it's a very good game. But it's like the specifically to the thing that you're saying, I think that those people haven't really paid attention to what was happening in the previous one, if they expect Kratos to still just be the murder hobo that he was in God of War 3 or something like that. Because this is a much more mature Kratos. And at least from what I've seen so far, again, I haven't finished the game yet. From what I've seen so far, it just feels like he's matured and he's no longer a murder hobo, and he has a much deeper respect for what is happening in the world and the dangers that it poses to actually go and kill a god. Yeah, that is the vibe that I get from Kratos, and I've been enjoying it. I think it's really good. The biggest thing that I have is that the hardest difficulty, like the balancing of it, is completely atrocious. Which was the same case for the 2018 version of God of War. Was terrible. That's just my opinion.
I mean, I don't play it on the hardest difficulty. I play it on normal because I just want to see the story.
Yeah, that's the smart thing to do. But I'm not smart.
Yeah, you like, I mean, you play games like Elden Ring and Dark Souls multiple times for fun.
Yes.
So, you know, I'll play it once because it's fun. I don't think I'll play it twice. I think the once is good enough because that's fucking hard. Like, Jesus, I remember fighting that tree sentinel. Fuck, that was such a fight,
Let me tell
bro.
you something. Elden Ring is a cakewalk compared to any of the God of War, any of these two God of War games on maximum difficulty. Actual cakewalk.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Like the thing that a lot of people grossly over exaggerate the difficulty of Elden Ring. It's not that hard. And in the meantime, a lot of these a lot of these games that come out, because the difficulty balancing is so bad, they end up being way harder than Elden Ring or any Souls game for that matter, in my opinion. But like I feel like one of the things that people might be complaining about dialogue is also that a lot of the characters do too much backseating. Like, to give you an idea, I was doing a boss fight. I was this dragon I was fighting, and there's a character with you that's like a companion that's helping you out in combat and whatnot. And this character will not shut the fuck up with the backseating. They'll be going like, "Oh, you need to parry this attack." So it's like the monster will be like doing an attack, and there's an indicator of what type of attack it's going to be and whatnot, because it's all part of the game mechanics. And they will be reinforcing the indicators on screen saying, "You need to parry that attack." And they will repeat it, like if you mess up the parry, next time the attack comes, "You need to parry that attack." And then when you actually perform the parry, they'll go, "See? Just like I told you." And it's like, what is going on?
Oh my God.
Dude,
I would lose my shit, dude.
I was losing my shit at the amount of like backseating that was happening. And it's not just that.
Can you turn it off?
No. And here's the thing. It's not just that. Like, this gets worse. There are situations where there'll be a puzzle and they will solve the puzzle without giving you like 2 seconds to think. Like you're on the way to the puzzle, and it's almost like they're going, "By the way, there's a puzzle up ahead, and there's a black mirror, and you need to throw your axe against the black mirror, because then it's going to bounce off, it's going to hit the wall, then you're going to call the axe back, and then it will break the chain, and then you'll get the chest." And it's like, I haven't even gotten there yet. It's not literally like that, but it's almost that bad.
I did have the same kind of problem with some of the puzzles in God of War that I've been playing recently. Which is the same thing, right? So I love puzzles in games. I told you before, Tomb Raider is one of my favorite fucking games because of the puzzles. And I have the same problem with Tomb Raider, where, you know, you'll fail once, and then suddenly the camera will pan up and it will show you where you're supposed to go. And you're like, fuck, I wanted to figure this out myself. Like, why would you pan up? Let me figure it out. I'm here. I understand what the fuck needs to happen. And the same thing, your boy will start saying things before you've even had the opportunity to actually, like, you know, go, okay, I'm going to try this. And then if that doesn't work, we'll try this. And then as soon as you do it once wrong, your boy goes, actually, I think you should try this.
Yeah.
So
It's a problem because I feel like a lot of AAA industries, a lot of AAA publishers no longer believe our capacity for critical thinking. And they they think that we're going to give up on the games. So instead, they're like, we have to make sure they don't quit. So let's make sure we give them a time, like 10 seconds. If they don't solve the puzzle in 10 seconds, we got to tell them the solution. Otherwise, they might quit. We wouldn't want that.
Dude, I don't know if you guys have ever played, anyone really has ever played like Metal Gear Solid, the old ones, or the old God of Wars. Or even the, I was just thinking, Resident Evils. The very old Resident Evils. You know, those with the fixed camera that you sort of, as you move the camera, will fix to different locations?
Yeah.
There would be puzzles in those games that would take me hours. Now, I was much younger then, but I would spend hours trying to figure out this fucking puzzle. Like moving boxes around or pillars around or statues around until you get the exact right one. Metal Gear Solid literally had places where you need codes to get in, but you need to figure out what the fucking code is because the game doesn't tell you. It's just like, figure it out, bitch. And I remember one of them. You're in a prison cell, right? You're caught in one of the Metal Gear Solids, and you're in the prison cell. And in order to get out of the prison cell, you have to radio someone, but it doesn't tell you need to radio someone. You can just open up your radio and then just go through all of the radio frequencies. And eventually you'll get to someone that gives you a clue on how you could maybe get out of this prison cell. Like that, shit like that, right? Which, yes, it's a struggle to do it. But once you've done it, you're like, yes.
There's a feeling. There's a feeling of accomplishment. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Whereas nowadays, people want that quick dopamine spike. So I want to get through it, and then I want to see the nice lights go up, and I want to hear the music, and that's it, right? So it's all just rushing for those quick dopamine bites. I think this is actually one of the reasons, and we're fucking going so far off in the weeds now, but this is one of the reasons so few people actually, or so many people, hated Death Stranding. Because Death Stranding is a similar type of game. It is a slow fucking burn. The dopamine spikes do not come often. You have to really work for those dopamine spikes. But once they happen, they're so good. You feel so accomplished. I remember spending literally 4 days finishing the entire highway from my base to the second base. Just fucking looking for resources and handing it in and building the fucking highway so that I could make deliveries quicker.
Acolonn made the highway all by himself. Look at you.
Dude, I literally did. Because remember, I started playing Death Stranding much later. There wasn't anyone else. So I literally was the only fuck that built highways.
I love the feeling of like the community of Death Stranding, of you just like helping people out and whatnot and building stuff. It was so cool. Like my biggest thing was like when you went to the mountains, like the mountains had that new technology, the zip lines. I connected everything with zip lines. It was all connected. So it's like my delivery was like, well, I'll hop on this zip line, then I'll get out, hop on this one, boop, 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 everywhere.
It's so cool.
I would skip everything. Nothing could get me. It was zip lines all the way.
I loved that game. But this is just really is down to Hideo Kojima. I'm looking forward to his next game. He's been teasing the fuck out of that. Hideo Kojima, in my opinion, is the god of video game design. Everyone else is second to Hideo. He's just next level. So I'm really looking forward to his next game.
I'm gonna have to bring in my boys Ryozu and Hidetaka. Sorry, man. Well, I like Kojima as well. I mean, Ryozu is the man behind Monster Hunter, and Hidetaka is the man behind Dark Souls. Ryozu and Hidetaka, man, and Yoshi P.
They're not better than Hideo Kojima. They're good.
I disagree.
They're not better than Hideo, bro. No,
I disagree.
Bro.
But then again, this is like you're arguing like, oh man, I don't know if I like this steak better or if I like this other steak that's also really good. There's like these two delicious, succulent, rare steaks, and I can't make up my mind over which one I like best.
Speaking of steak, I have in the fridge right now that I'm going to be cooking in a minute, right? I have a tri-tip. My first ever tri-tip. I've never had tri-tip
I don't know
before.
what that is.
It's marble to fuck. That's all I can tell you. It's marble to
Okay.
fuck. And I have tri-tip. It's this big. It's like a proper 1.5 kilogram steak with mushrooms, bro.
That's the $100 that the dude donated to at the start of the stream.
It's actually tri-tip is quite cheap actually.
Oh, okay.
I think I paid for 1.5 kilos. I paid like maybe $8.
Oh, okay. So never mind. That's pretty cheap.
Yeah, it was cheap as shit. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that bad boy.
Okay, so the final topic that I have here for us is the Mick Gordon situation. Have you became more aware of what was happening with Mick Gordon yet, or no? Because like
that's
we're supposed
that
to talk
music
about,
guy, right?
yeah,
That's
he's
the
the
Doom.
composer. He's the composer who made the Doom music, which the Doom music is friggin' amazing. Period. And the basically he was done dirty in the Doom Eternal stuff. Which the timeline of events is basically like, so he was working on Doom Eternal, and he was working on the music and whatnot, and then eventually they said, oh, we're also going to be doing an original soundtrack for the people who buy the collector's edition and whatnot. And when that soundtrack came out, it was bad. It was really fucking bad. And everybody was like, what the fuck is this? This is terrible. And back then, all he did was like, one tweet was saying, Mick Gordon, how could you do this? This is terrible. And his answer was like, I didn't mix those tracks. The ones I mixed don't sound like shit. That was the only thing that he said. And then he remained quiet for years. Mm-hmm. After he said this on Twitter, there was a guy from Bethesda who came out, a guy called Marty Stratton, made a big post saying that Mick was terrible to work with. Mick didn't keep up with deadlines. Mick had all of these problems and that he was a bad composer, was a pain in the ass to work with, and basically blamed everything on him.
Typical Bethesda.
Yeah.
Typical fucking Bethesda.
And so basically, the guy didn't really defend himself all that much. He was talking with them in the background. And eventually there wasn't a resolution. So recently he came out with like this super detailed thing about what was going on. And for starters, I don't know if you've played Doom in the 2016 edition of Doom, but basically the music, obviously, in a game like Doom is going to be dynamic. So you have like, pieces of music and they put them together in order to work depending on what is happening in a game of time. Are you doing well? Are you doing bad? Are you in a level that requires a lot of platforming? Like also depending on the level, the types of enemies you're fighting, all of these things. So you need gameplay in order to generate the music. What was happening was Mick wasn't getting gameplay. They weren't sending him gameplay to do his job. I mean, they sent him like a couple of things, but they weren't sending him nearly as much as he needed in order to actually do the soundtrack for the game properly. So he was basically doing a lot of guesswork. Yeah. Right? He was doing a lot of guesswork. And so the way that it works in musical contracts, I mean, in contracts when you have a composer and whatnot, is minutes of music produced. So what was happening was then Bethesda was saying like, oh yeah, that piece you wrote doesn't work. You need to do that again. That doesn't work. You need to do that again. And so there was a lot of music that he was creating that he wasn't even going to be paid for starters, because, it was just like, they were giving him like a bunch of like, hey, just figure it out, whatever. And then eventually as things would start coming together a little bit more, you'd be able to like refine shit. Basically, he ended up doing twice the amount of music than what was needed if they had given him the proper things in time or whatnot. Then there was also the fact that they were pushing him for time constantly. They were like being super aggressive with their timetable, and he was telling them, this isn't going to work. This not, I'm not going to be able to do all of this work in this time. Then he worked for like 11 months without getting paid. At one point, he had to send an email like, hey guys, can I get paid? Can I get some fucking money? Fuck? I've been working for about 11 fucking months. Can I get some fucking money out of you people? And then eventually they paid him. Wow. And so they only paid him for half of the shit that he produced. But later he came to find that they used everything he produced. So basically Bethesda got the 2-for-1 special. So this is what they did to him. And then at the end of it, the reason why the soundtrack was really shitty was because they announced that they were making a soundtrack, and not only announced that they were making a soundtrack, they said this is going to be a Mick Gordon soundtrack because he was well known because of his work on the previous Doom. So his name carried a lot of weight. So naturally they said there's going to be a Mick Gordon soundtrack. And when Mick Gordon saw this in the collector's edition or whatever, he was like, huh, nobody told me this. Because you can't just like pull the tracks that are going into the game, because the tracks going into the game is like pieces of music that they kind of like jumble together in order to make the dynamic stuff that is happening on level. An actual soundtrack is going to have to be different because you need music tracks that'll be like, I don't know, 3 to 5 minutes, some bullshit like that. You're not just like putting shit together willy-nilly. So for starters, he goes and tells them, hey, when am I going to get the contract to do the soundtrack? They tell him nothing. The guy who was working with Marty Stratton, whatever, tells him nothing. He's like, whatever, ghosts him. So he has to go around this guy to some higher up in id Software, basically like, hey, when am I going to get the contract to do the soundtrack that has my fucking name on it? When's that going to happen? And so eventually they gave him the contract to do the soundtrack, and it was like, okay, you got to do 12 tracks. And then he asked him, okay, which tracks do you want me to make? They didn't say anything. But because the timetable was super tight, he was like, okay, I'm just going to pick these 12 tracks that I think I like the best ones, and I'll work on these, and I'll figure them out. So he starts working on the tracks. Yeah. And then he asks for a little bit more time near the end because, you know, shit was already super tight. And they were like, no. This Marty Stratton guy is like, no, I don't want it. And then it's like 4 or 5 hours before the game is supposed to come out, the guy goes and tells Mick, like, oh, by the way, I don't like the tracks that you picked. Dude, it was like this read like something from fucking hell. Okay? And then on top of it, what ends up happening is they had this random guy, this random audio engineer from id Software who was called Chad.
What a fucking name. Jeez, okay.
It's called Chad. And Chad had been remixing the tracks, like from the stuff that they had from him. He had been remixing 48 tracks. He had been mastering it to put in the soundtrack. So they grabbed the 12 tracks that Mick produced, and they put like 40-something more that had been mixed by this Chad guy. Now, the problem is, something that a lot of people don't understand is that when you are mixing audio, there are certain standards that you need to govern yourself by. So, for instance, if I was mixing audio, the headphones that I'm using to mix that audio are important. Now, I don't know if Chad was mixing that shit with some iPod earbuds or some bullshit or whatever the fuck it was, because the mixing was shit in most other like headphones. Because again, you need standards, you need norms, you need all of these things. And that's why the soundtrack ended up sounding like shit, because most of the tracks were actually mixed by somebody else, not him, despite the fact that it was attached to his name. And this guy's been living with this shit for 3 fucking years. His reputation dragged through the fucking mud. And at the end of it, Marty Stratton made him an offer of paying him like a 6-figure sum to just take the blame. And he said, no, fuck y'all. And he puts out his own, like, this detailed thing that I'm telling. There's way more detail about it, like the fact that they didn't let him go on stage to get the award for his soundtrack at the Game Awards. The only reason he was invited to the Game Awards was because Jeff Keighley invited him or some bullshit like that. Like Bethesda didn't let it. Instead, this other guy, Marty, went and received the awards in his name. It's like they did this guy so fucking dirty. And then...
But bro,
let me just finish. And then recently, what Bethesda did was they put out a statement. Because this was since I've spoken to you last, Bethesda put out a statement where they said, most of the things Mick said is a lie, and we have the proof, and but we're not going to tell you. And I was like,
of course,
it's a lie, and of course you have the proof, and of course you're not going to tell us. Yes, sure thing.
Yeah, I have the proof right here. It's trust me, bro.
Yeah, it's source trust me, bro.
It's like, I don't have much to say about this other than how is anyone still working with the gaming industry? Because this is just classic AAA gaming industry bullshit every time. Like almost all the time now, whenever a new AAA game comes out, we get stories of crunch, like in this case, where he was forced to work with a very tight schedule to try and get shit out without anyone actually giving him any direction. You hear of people trying to fucking short other people on money. It's just constant, dude. The AAA industry, it almost feels like they're trying to kill themselves. Because what happens if you have a game like Doom, but not a single composer is willing to work with you? Because much of what makes Doom Doom is its music.
It's the music, yeah.
You remove the music and Doom falls fucking flat. I was actually the other day watching a video where the guy did. It wasn't about Doom. It was actually a video about how important music is. Because I'm always looking. I told you this before. I'm always looking for skills that I can transfer to making YouTube videos. And the guy basically went through like a number of games and one of the scenes was actually a scene from The Witcher, which is a scene that like fucking floored me. It's the scene with the Raid Baron. So the guy showed this Raid Baron scene with The Witcher 3, no music, and then with music again. No music, it's just dead. The same with Doom Eternal, showing this video with no music, just the gunshots and shit, and then back with music. And the no music just seems slow, sluggish, very boring, like nothing's happening. Then you add the music back in, and suddenly it's like, Jesus, it feels faster. It looks like everything's just happening faster because the music obviously creates the feeling that it wants you to feel. It's boosting everything when that music comes, and it's just fucking heavy metal music. So music is integral to the creation of almost any game that you're going to try and make. Okay, the same goes for story. The same goes for voice acting. We just recently had that bullshit with voice actors not being paid by companies. So it feels like the AAA industry is actively trying to sabotage itself, and it's especially dangerous nowadays when you have indie games that is, shall we say, most or a lot of indie companies are no longer coming to the party with zero budget. Yeah, there's a lot of indie games that come to the party with, they don't have billions to spend, but they do have a couple of mil lying around. So they can absolutely pay a lot of these composers and pay a lot of these voice actors a decent sum of money to make their games work. And dude, it's just Bethesda being Bethesda, man. It's just going from scumbag. It's Todd Howard, the whole thing again with it just works.
It's just, to me, the one thing that I started thinking about as I was contemplating this earlier today was like, it almost seems like this Marty Stratton guy simply does not like the musical style that they have in Doom, like the metal stuff, the guitars and all of that. Maybe he doesn't like that, and maybe that actually explains why at one point, I'm not sure if you've ever seen it, but at one point Doom Eternal had like a trailer that was basically featuring mumble rap, and everybody was like, what the fuck? The fuck? Mumble rap? Like you have Mick Gordon with fucking metal music out the ass with like some fantastical music in Doom 2016, and they come out with a trailer with fucking mumble rap? Like everybody was like, what is going on? People were doing montages where they basically just grabbed the trailer, changed nothing, and put Rip and Tear from Doom 2016 instead, and the trailer looked like a million times better. And I even did it. I did it live on one of my videos where I was just like, hey guys, check this out. I just opened up a window with the soundtrack, put the soundtrack playing, muted the trailer, and put the trailer playing, and I'm like, it's a million times better already. So to me, it almost seems like this Marty Stratton guy is probably much more into like mumble rap and that type of shit. And he just resents Mick Gordon's success over the fact that like...
Even in real life, so not even in games, mumble rap sucks dick. Like there is not a single mumble rapper that I have ever heard that I would go, huh, that's not bad. To start with, what the fuck are you saying? I don't know, you're mumbling. Also, it doesn't seem like you have a lot of talent, because otherwise you wouldn't be fucking mumbling. So yeah, I'm definitely not a fan of mumble rap.
Harsh.
To be fair, I'm not a fan of rap, to be fair. So I guess that does.
I like Vanilla Ice, man. Vanilla Ice was good shit, man.
Ice, baby.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that was still back in the day. No, I mean, back in the day, I there was a massive period where I was like huge into 50 Cent and into Eminem, Dr. Dre, and all that shit. But luckily, I grew out of that. You know, I discovered heavy metal and never looked back.
Good
much.
shit. But anyways, that is going to be the show for today, everybody. Hopefully you guys enjoyed another episode of the Frozen Sodium Throne, this time live with a couple of technical hiccups. But, we got through most of it without the Portuguese or the South African government interfering too hard. As per usual, if you're watching this on YouTube, there'll be links to all of Acolonn's things in the description, as well as, I think on most podcasting platforms, I also have the links there. So check us out in there and all that jazz. See you guys in the next one. Stay strong. Stay safe. Peace out.
Peace.